Hey gamers, we're in the middle of summer and it's time to go on a family vacation. Let's check it out. Okay, before I show you the board, let me show you some simple setup. First off, every player is going to get one of these little family charts here. Has dad, mom, son, and daughter. You're going to put these little pawns on the 3 right there. They're signified by the little star. Everyone starts with 3 happiness. This equals happiness points in the game. You're going to draw a ton of different tiles here and randomly put them out among the interests, and that's what I already did here. You randomly put them out around the interest of your family. Now, if you had more than one family interested in something, like let's say mom and dad really enjoyed history, that's fine. You can have doubles like that. What you can't have is, let's say the mom have interest be both history. You can't have that. If you have that, you have to put this one back in and then redraw from the bin. But anyway, you're going to shuffle it around, and like I said, multiple families can have multiple different interests, the same, but not one can have the 2 of the same interest on one family member. Anyway, you're going to pick one of these little cars to get started here. So it plays up to 6 players, and each player will get a plane ticket, which lets them fly. It's a one-way ticket to any other airport. So they can fly from one airport to the next. It basically gets them across the country a lot faster. And then you'll shuffle through this deck of hometown cards. There's several in the game, and you'll take one card, and it'll tell you where your hometown is. Oh, check it out, it's Shreveport. Wow, right down the road from where I live. Okay, so you would start in Shreveport, Louisiana as your starting point on the map, and then you'd have to visit one of these or all of these places. This is places your family would really like to go. So for instance, they'd like to see the Space Needle in Seattle, Niagara Falls at Niagara Falls, and then of course Jackson Falls in Yellowstone Park. So if I make it to any of those places, I will grab, and these are the little attraction tiles. Well, here's the Space Needle. So I would grab the Space Needle when I got to Seattle, so that way I would have proof that I went to Seattle, and I would gain that many points at the end of the game. So these are big little areas that you would really like to go, and you want to kind of keep this secret too, because other players may have the same attractions, and the first person to get to that attraction would grab the extra points. Now, after all that, what you're going to do is you're going to move over here to the board, and now as you see, I have the board all set up here. You're going to have your little adventure cards right here. You're going to put out 2 spots for Mexico and Canada, and then of course you're going to put out some of these little photo tokens wherever you see the photo icon on the board. Now, according to my hometown card, my little car will start in Shreveport, Louisiana right here, so I'll put it there. Now, on your turn, you get to move 1 space anywhere you want. Now, if you see, there are little highway signs on the road here, and I'll just kind of zoom in there so you can see them. See, there's those little highway signs. Moving onto a highway sign does count as a movement point, and when you do that, you're going to have to take all your family members and you're going to have to move them down on the happiness track by 1, because no one likes just long trips on the road. Boo-hoo. So you're going to be doing a lot of that, as you see, because there's a lot of little highway icons on the board. However, there is one exception to that rule. If you are traveling on Route 66, which is all in gray there, then there will not be a -1 for any of your family members, because everyone is getting their kicks on Route 66. Now, if I was to go, and let's say I was to go, let me go past here. Let's say I was going over here to Albuquerque, because who doesn't want to go to Albuquerque? If you land on this is where you're going to get to draw one of these adventure cards. Now, the adventure cards can do several different things in the game. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. For instance, this one says someone has to go right now, -1 happiness for 3 family members. So I would take 3 family members on my player board and subtract 1 happiness from them. Now, it could be other things. It could have you go to special destinations, and you see there are these stars on the board, like the ones here and here, and there's other ones on the board as well. But if you can make it to this location, for instance, this is Geographic Center and Rugby, North Dakota, then I play this card, it's worth 10 extra bonus points at the end of the game. So you could have other secret destinations you could go to get you around in the game. Now, other things you can do, of course, you can go to a city. As you see, I passed through that city, but let's say I was into this city, okay? You can't go more than one space at one time unless there's a card that says you can. And so anyway, I roll into the city. Well, I got several options to do. I can take advantage of one of the many things that there is to do in the game. Now, I look at all the interest here, and then I look at the interest of the players on my player board. And as you see here, art and music are both, and wildlife are all in here. So let's say I use wildlife because Dad has a big interest in wildlife. Well, because of that, I'm going to have to put a little chip over this to cover wildlife. That means no one else, when they visit Dallas, can go see the wildlife there because the attraction is already full, in a sense. And so if you look on the little board, and this would be next to the Dad here, but we would go up 4 happiness on the Dad, and everyone else in the car goes up 2 happiness because they're happy when Dad's happy. And all of the little markers usually have something like that. Like I said, someone goes shopping, they're getting 5 happiness, and everyone else is getting 1. I guess they didn't get as many presents. Or no, they're -1. That's funny. Golf, someone's getting 7 points because they're super happy. No one else is happy on golf. So you see this, it does impact your decision on which one of these attractions you want to go to, because some may benefit the family more than others. But if someone's feeling really sad, you know, you may want to do that one special thing for them to move everyone up. Anyway, once it's covered up, again, no one else can do that. Now, there are other options I could have taken here. As you see, one is dining. If you cover dining, then everyone in your family goes up 2 happiness on the track, because everyone loves to eat. But another thing I could have done is I didn't have to visit any of those places. I could just take a picture, and I would take this little picture icon and keep it with me. Now, on the board, it actually, let me back away here. On the board, it does give you a little track here. It basically tells you, you know, it's -1 points to move on the highway, free for Route 66. It says what roadside attractions are. They're 0 points unless you have a card. Also, it talks about the dining here. Everyone gets 2 plus all. And then here is the camera pictures. The more of these icons I have at the end of the game, the better the trip I have, because I've got a big photo album I can share with everyone, but you're going to get some bonus points at the end of the game. So, of course, the first person there is going to get their first pick. Second person is going to get left over with whatever's left. So, let's say Red came in here and someone had already taken a picture and gone to see music. Well, now they can go dining, shopping, art, or wildlife. So that's kind of how it goes. So you want to be the first at a lot of these attractions so you can see, you know, or get your pick of what sites you want to do. Now, there is bonuses for going to Mexico and Canada. For instance, the first person to visit one of those countries will pick up this little tab for 10 points, either in Mexico or 1 in Canada. Second person there would pick up the 1 for 5 points, and they use that at the end of the game. Speaking of the end of the game, how does that work? Well, all a player has to do is pick up 1 of their special destinations. Now, they can go pick up 2 or all 3 if they want to, but as long as they have 1, they can try to make it back to their hometown. If they make it back to hometown, they are basically triggering the end of the game. First off, the first person to go home will get a +1 on all their family members, and anyone who can return home before the game ends will also get a +1 on all their family members. But what you're going to do is you're just going to take another one of these marker pawns here, and you're going to place it right here on the 1 track. Basically, they have 7 more rounds to make it back home or to go out and keep going on their vacation to get as many points. But like I said, you know, that triggers the end. So when you get to the 7th round there, and that's it, well, then we add up all the points. We add up all the bonus points that they had, any special destinations, any pictures they took, any other bonuses they had by going to visit some of those star places like we saw in this thing here that add those points. And of course, the person with the most points went on the best vacation, and they won. Final thoughts, what do I think about the game? Well, you know what? I really like this game. There's not that much to it. In fact, I think it may be for kids, even though I could see people in my gaming group loving this game. But there is some strategy. You know, should I just move and just take the action? I mean, it kind of is, but there is strategy. Where do you go? You need to plot out where the best vacation route is. And a lot of times you don't even know what other people, you know, what their landmarks they need to see. Because remember, whoever's there first gets the landmark. The other person gets nothing. Now, you can't pick up a landmark that you're not assigned to just to screw someone else over. That'd be mean. But it's not worth any points to you, and you'd waste your trip even if you did that. But anyway, moving around the board, getting to these cities first, getting those landmarks first is important. Because if you're the last one into New York and all the good stuff has been taken, you got to go with whatever's left, and it ain't that good. So it's a race to see who can get there first. When and where you want to use that plane ticket, that one-way ticket for your whole family, that's very intriguing as well, because we didn't know. I cashed it in on the end, but there are some people cashing in to make sure they made it to their landmark first, or they made it over here before the last, you know, whatever picture was gobbled up, because one person's getting all the pictures, and you can score a ton of bonus points that way if you're just going for pictures. There are so many paths to victory, and so that's why I'm keeping this game in my collection. I really do think it's a fun game. Now, I found this game for super duper cheap. I think you can too. Anything 20 bucks and under is a definite deal for me. The pieces aren't that nice, you know, like the little white, you know, pasteless pawns, and some of it's a little cheap. The player boards are kind of warped in my copy, at least. Now, one more interesting thing I want to mention about this is it reminds me of another game from GDW called Campaign Trail. And in Campaign Trail, you're moving around the U.S. to different cities, and you're gaining those votes. And I wonder how much of that was levied off into this game. I mean, basically because it's move, take action, and of course, hopefully you're going to have more points than your opponents. You do have a round trip or one-way ticket to get to Hawaii or Alaska in it, so I think that's interesting. You can gain other cards in the game that let you get extra votes. So it's kind of like that, but it has a vacation theme on it. Now, that's just a mindless thought there, but should you get it? Well, it's up for you. I like it, staying in my collection. All right, gamers, that's all the time I have for now. Until next time, vacation on.